So, a little bit, as we don't have any moderator for this session, a little bit of instruction for the speakers, which is you will get 10 minutes for your presentation, and the timekeeper will give you the notification on the 8th minute. And after that, after completing all the presentations, we will do a question answer round for 10 minutes. So now we are starting with Anustup Nayak, Vice President, XSEED Education.
Can everyone hear me? So thank you everyone for bearing with me. It's right after lunch. I'll try to make it useful to you. Today I'm going to talk about a very exciting story which has been rather silent but brewing right across the border from here in India and also now in the Philippines. The story of how XSEED is transforming elementary school education. But before I start, I want to talk about a little bit about the opportunity and the problem today, which is captured in these two very interesting charts I ran into yesterday. One is a chart of really great hope. On this chart, you can see that between 1950 and 2010, in a brief period of 60 years, that's not a very long period of time in education, schooling has expanded. The line to watch is the line below, that in developing countries, the average years of schooling has expanded from 2 years to 7.2 years. I think that's a spectacular achievement by any standards. But the sad story is that in most developing countries, the quality of learning leaves a lot to be desired. And this is a chart which shows the scores on the TIMSS assessment, which is given to primary schoolers on science and maths, and it shows the standard deviations away from the OECD average. And you can see so many countries are below the OECD average and very far away, and the catch-up will take a long period of time. Billions of dollars are invested in improving elementary school education, but results are very hard to find. For the first 6 years, when we started experimenting with elementary school education, even we found it very, very hard to find results. And today, after 9 years of pounding the pavement inside schools, largely in India and now in the Philippines, we are beginning to see results. So I'll start with some of that. So today, XSEED is really solving this problem of how do you get an elementary school improvement program to A, show results in the classroom, B, scale up, and C, do so profitably and sustainably in an economically viable manner. So today, XSEED children are really learning better. Our internal assessments show that XSEED children outperform their peers in non-XSEED schools by over 20%. And when you cut this data, the more exciting data point is the bottom third of this class is actually improving twice as much. When you meet these children, mostly in tier 2, tier 3 towns, they're curious, they're confident, they communicate better in English, and they're ready, hopefully, for a life ahead. We reach about 1 million children today. We reach about 3,000 elementary schools. Most of them are budget private schools, scattered in smaller tier 2, tier 3 towns where good quality of education is very hard to find. We touch about 75,000 retrained teachers. And we have a business model which is actually self-sustaining for us and also affordable for the parents and schools. At $20 per child per annum, XSEED is able to deliver high quality learning. But this did not happen overnight, obviously. For the first many, many years, for 6, 7 years, we tried many things, and most of them did not work. We tried hundreds of hours of teacher training. We trained about 2,000 teachers, and we found that even after lots of teacher training, there was no real change in the classroom. And in 2007 and 8, we went back to the drawing board and started teaching ourselves, sat inside classrooms, and we found that there was one thing really missing in this entire equation. There was really no good recipe for good teaching. There's a lot of conversation around good teachers and bad teachers, but very little conversation around good teaching and bad teaching. And we ended up, after a lot of work, with a very simple, and I would use the word frugal here in the light of current conversations, a simple 5-step process which is the core innovation inside the entire XSEED engine. What XSEED does, it replaces the rote chalk and talk teaching which is prevalent in most developing countries, which is largely a 1-step process of a teacher instructing a student from a textbook to a simple 5-step process. And this can be done anywhere. I'm just going to use buoyancy to illustrate this point. If you're going to teach buoyancy, can we start by helping children understand why do some objects float and others sink, so they're clear about the aim of what they're learning? Second, can we get them to do some hands-on activity where children bring a bucket of water, they put things into it and see what happens? Then children analyze, so which objects went down, which objects went up, what happened to the heavier objects, what happened to the hollow objects? And that's when you can introduce the concept of buoyancy and it really sticks. But you don't stop there, you extend that understanding to application where children go and solve a real life problem. If I give you a piece of dough which would usually sink in water, can you do something so that it floats? So that children extend their thinking into the real life and are able to cement that concept. And finally, every class in XSEED ends with assessment and high quality feedback to the teacher and to the child. And you do that in every concept, in every subject, and you see results. What XSEED has done is also productize this into what we call an elementary school in a box. And what does the box contain is really everything that a school needs to implement this program really well. The first part is high quality step-by-step lesson plans and what we call the micro-curriculum for teachers, which provides teachers with an accurate understanding of how to run every class better, what kind of instructions, what kind of resources, so on and so forth. We have redesigned textbooks and workbooks so that children are able to practice problems every day and get that rigor into the instruction. There's formative and summative assessment, all focused not just on content mastery, but also on thinking and problem-solving skills and reporting to parents. Lately, we have developed a digital learning solution which combines digital learning resources with hands-on learning and provides instant feedback to teachers, parents, and students. And finally, we have year-round support which ensures that children are able to learn better and teachers are able to perform better in the classroom every day. So what have we learned? We've learned many things, but 5 things I would highlight. The first is that a lot of habit change in the classroom can precede belief change. A lot of times we end up blaming teachers for being undermotivated to resist change in the classroom, and we start lecturing them. And what we found out, it's better to demonstrate what a great classroom looks like, and that has in turn affected teacher performance and teacher practice. The second is very important. A lot of conversation in education reform is at the 30,000 feet level. What we have found is important to talk at the 3 feet level. So if you're going into the classrooms, it's important to ask the question, so what kind of resources, what kind of questions do you ask children, what kind of assessment, and what kind of tools, and so on and so forth, and to really deep dive into that details. The third is we've been able to pinpoint that the aspiration level of parents in smaller tier 2, tier 3 towns across the developing world is intense. And when parents and schools see something that actually delivers results, not just a gimmick, they are willing to pay. And the last mile execution and persistence over a long period matters. And finally, over this long period of time, we've been able to build a team which is not only skilled and passionate, but also has been persistent and has the right kind of value system, and that has shown results. And I'd like to end with a short movie about our work, which is now in the Philippines, so that you can get a little whiff of what I was talking about.
so fun to learn in XSEED because it excites me to learn something new. There is a lot of activities. I feel excited or happy.
Welcome to XSEED, a unique 5-step learning method which focuses on hands-on experiential learning. XSEED is now in the Philippines.
Read our aim for today.
XSEED system ensures that every lesson has the 5 essential qualities of good teaching. Through this, XSEED inspires and helps a child become curious and confident.
Okay, gravitational force. Now, look at the bottom and to start answering.
I have seen really a lot of improvement with my kids when we use XSEED in our classroom. I have seen that they have become more confident, and I have seen that they think more deeply right now than the way they were before. Actually, XSEED helps me so much in a way on how to deliver my lesson, in how to deliver activities inside my classroom.
There's a lot of examples, a lot of activities that they can use, the comprehensions, and even the links really helps for them to study their lessons. I'm kind of happy having XSEED for my son.
They improve a lot in mathematics, especially when you introduce XSEED.
Parents get regular personalized reports and feedback on how to improve their child's performance.
One of the challenges of the private schools here is the turnover of teachers. One of the things we thought of was to look for a program with a content high in rigor, that's research-based, that's proven effective, and that the teacher, they can just focus on teaching it well, and that's when we saw XSEED.
Using XSEED, schools report a 25% increase in student skill scores, a rise in admissions, and better recognition.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause.
We were attracted to the fact that XSEED has tailor-fit its textbooks and curriculum to the current K-12 DepEd curriculum. And we are also drawn toward the fact that there will be a strong partnership, especially with professional development for our teachers.
XSEED's learning system has proven results for over 1 million students in thousands of schools in 8 countries. Get XSEED for your school today and lay every child's foundation for life.
Thank you. I'd love to take questions, comments. Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, Anustup. This is a very inspiring model, and I'm sure we have a lot of questions and want to know a lot. Now I'm requesting Pavitra Gautam, co-founder and CEO of Karkhana, to come up and present his model.
Good afternoon. Let's wait for the slide. Until then, my name is Pavitra Gautam. I'm all the way from Kathmandu, Nepal. I hope a lot of you have met me last night with the cab, right? And for being from Nepal, and that's me. View, full screen. Okay. I've not completed it. So I'm all the way from Nepal. I like to introduce myself as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, and as an educator. But recently, I have a lot of satisfaction being an educator as well. Today I'm going to talk about Be Creative program, which is an after-school program, which is a co-curricular program which happens once a week for 1 hour, which is 1 period of class time, and it's making based. In this model, our teachers, with our kits and lesson plan, go and deliver these classes. I know this is confusing, which I'll try to make it clear through my following slides. Before that, I have a question for all of you. How many of you think that in education, access is the bigger problem? Okay. Can I see a raise of hands who think quality in education is the bigger challenge? I still have third option. How many of you think that both quality and access are the bigger challenges in education? Come on, you could raise hands at least. We follow this third option. We think that both access and quality are very important factors in education. Or if we have to compare, we slightly lean towards the quality side of education. Today I'm going to share 3 social media posts that are collected from our Facebook page, through which I'll try to explain our work. Can I change slides? Oh, thank you so much. Kids are taught to think that science is a kind of subject that you have to remember the facts and figures discovered by someone else. In our classes, with kids like these, in this kind of boxes or bags, our teacher let our students explore the hypothesis by doing the experimentation and test the hypothesis they have. In this kind of classes, we focus on not only building the critical thinking in students, but also give an environment where they can collaborate with each other. This is a class about electric circuits, and Binita and Mamata had to design an electric maze in this class. While working on that, Binita and Mamita encountered a problem. The kit didn't work, and they asked for a replacement. In a regular class setting, a teacher would simply replace the kit. But our teacher, Amrit, took this moment to ask the student that, can you figure out which part of the component, which part of the kit is not working? So they worked for some time, and they realized that actually there was a small wire that was not working. Of course, in our classes, we focus on things like critical thinking and collaboration, but so many times while solving a problem, it's not about the bigger problem. It's about finding the smaller problems within that bigger problem and solving it. In this particular example, what I'm trying to say is, this is how we try to personalize the education for our students. This particular class is about levers. And the way we approach this problem is we compare this idea of levers with human bodies and physical movements. We have levers in our hands as well. And they do not only understand the concepts of levers, but they try to create a model which looks like a lever, and they not only understand this concept, but they also create something out of it. So what's the common thread in all these ideas? Or what are the 21st century skills that we believe in? It's ability to make things, because knowledge is only power when you know how to use it. It's ability to take risks, because failure is a taboo, which is actually a step that you have to go through while progressing and growing. It's about understanding that creativity is not just about art and music. It's about adding value and adding ideas in every aspect of life. It's all thinking critically like Binita and Mamata to be able to diagnose the problem and understand that even within the bigger problems, the point is to solve the smaller ones through the course. And I don't have to say anything about these 2 skills. Nobody lives alone in this world. The way we have structured all this idea is through this model, which is, okay. So for us, making is a central part of our learning process. In this, we ask our students to make think of something that they want to make, they make it, they test the ideas, and they improve it. And through these kinds of activities, we try to promote the ideas on critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And honestly, this is a pretty abstract concept for lots of educators. So we try to package it in the concepts of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So briefly, we deliver the lessons on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics through the process of making, using the concept like design thinking, focusing on the concepts of critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Before I move to the next slide, how many of you have eaten dal, rice, and sabzi? Good. Don't you think it's boring to eat that every day? No. But what makes it interesting? What makes it interesting is that small pickle on the side of it, which changes every day, right? So many times educators ask us, principals ask us that, what exactly are you guys? We are that small chutney. we don't, what we do is we bring in that flavor to the existing dal bhat and sabzi that you're already delivering, which is very important for the overall growth of a child. But we only want to enhance the flavor by adding a small bit to it. And we do that by our team first designs lots of lesson plans, and also the kids required to deliver those lesson plans. We then establish partnerships with different educational institutions, and we go to these educational institutions with lesson plans and the kits that we have designed and deliver these classes. And these kits are the ones that I demonstrated. We are currently in 17 different schools, and we have a working relationship with more than 100 schools in Kathmandu and in Nepal. At the moment, we are reaching out to 2,500 students. By the end of this year, we're supposed to reach to 5,000 students. We deliver around 70 different classes every week, and the total size of the team is 55 at the moment. And this is not just about delivering the classes, but the people who design the classes, design the content, and also deliver these classes, of course. And we've been doing this since 2014, and the journey from 2014 to now, we've focused a lot of time and energy to build a model that can be scaled, and should work in different parts of, not just Nepal, but different parts of South Asia. That's why we're looking for impact investors and school leaders who would help us not to grow inside Nepal, but other parts of South Asia. Also school leaders who would want to take this kind of program and collaborate with us. And if you're based in Bangladesh, me and my co-founder, who is at the back with the beard and the hand raise. Okay, we're here for a few more days after the conference. We'd be more than happy and excited to come and demonstrate a few examples, and we actually have built brought a few kits along with us. Thank you so much. You can use this email to email me and ask how's Kathmandu, how's the weather. But you can also use this email to try and reach out to me, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pavitra. We have been discussing for long, like what are those 21st century skills and how should we deliver this. So here's a model that shows that how to deliver the skills to the kids. Thank you so much. I'd now like to request Mr. Waliullah Bhuiyan, founder and CEO of Light of Hope, to present his education model.
Can you guys hear me from the back? Yeah. It's okay? Yeah, okay. So I'm Wally, I'm from Nayak. So this card is good. How many of you know what's this in the picture? Okay. So for those who don't know, we call it palki in Bangladesh, in Bengali. It's a kind of ancient form of transportation to take people from one place to another. By looking at this picture, you can surely tell now it's a really inefficient and outdated model of transportation. It doesn't do much good. It's kind of same pace as walking. The only benefit that you're getting is actually the shade over there, over your head. And that's actually our current education. Now, here comes a revolutionary idea that's going to completely change this whole bulky education system. And that is Uber for bulky. With this app, you can actually call any nearby bulky, come to your house, you can hop in and go to your place. All those like same things walking, but you don't have to waste any energy. But the thing is, like many educators, tech-based educators, are actually falling under this category of Uber for bulky. I'm an electrical engineer. I also once fell into that category too. Like many engineers, I also wanted to use my engineering skill to change social problems. So when I was in Germany, with three other of my friends, we were actually building a completely solar and multimedia classroom solution for the off-grid schools. We have like 40,000 schools located in off-grid areas in Bangladesh. So we have this completely solar run laptop projector, soundbox, all the content inside, and it only consumes 60 watt of energy, so equal to an electric bulb. So globally, that's the lowest energy consuming solution you can get. So we actually designed that, and then when we came back after our graduation, we tried that out in 2 schools. We actually got Energy Globe Award for that. I was like really proud. We're like, finally we have a solution for 40,000 primary schools located in our areas. But guess what? Doesn't do much good to the system, right? So what we decided that after this, we're going to stop trying to improve this bulky education system. There are a lot of other organizations are actually trying to improve that. And since we are started, our time and resources can be utilized best if we do something else. So what we started to do is we started to build this. So in light of hope, that's what we're actually doing. We're trying to come up with a completely different model for education and change the existing model. So we're calling ourselves Tesla for education. What we found is education or schooling itself, it's not a complex thing. It's actually the educators who made it complex. So they're like lawyers, right? So that normal people like us don't understand. So we developed a very simple philosophy about schooling. It's like, to us, schooling is like cooking. You need to know the exact ingredients, and you need a very good chef. Only then the food is tasty. Same in schooling, if you have the right resources, right ingredients, and if you have the good chef, which means the teachers, the schooling is going to be tasty, and the kids are actually going to enjoy that. Now, there is this study from Waliullah and Economic Forum that says about 70 to 80% of today's primary level children are going to end up in a job that doesn't exist today, right? And the kind of skills that they need, we found, is like these are the 3 skills that we work with: creativity, problem solving, emotional intelligence, and moral values. So this is the first thing. This is kind of the engine of our Tesla car. Is we're actually creating a global curriculum for 4 to 10 years old kids, but focusing on these 3 skills only. So this is the UI. So it's kind of treasure hunt. When a kid or a parent or teachers go into this platform, so all these different islands are actually representing different skill sets. For example, island for creative is like about creativity. And a kid or a parent, they actually can take a journey throughout the whole thing. And if you combine these 3 islands, it actually forms into a human brain. So it's a kind of way. So there are a lot of content that we're uploading, starting from ebooks, videos, puppet shows, to teach about how to improve creativity, moral values, and emotional intelligence. So that's the content and curriculum part. So right now we're doing it in English and Bengali, but we do have plans to cover top 8 languages. So like 60% of world's population actually talk in those 8 languages. If we do that, then we're going to cover 1 billion children all over the world. And at some point, we're going to open this platform for other educators so they can also upload their own content that's been developed based on this future skill set. Now, some of the courses that we designed for Goofy, we actually wanted to try out in Bangladesh. Because if it works in Bangladesh, it's going to work anywhere in the world, trust me. So the Keystone is a membership-based after-school program where we actually use some of the courses that we designed for Goofy. For example, one course is story making. So kids are actually natural storytellers. So what we do in this particular course is like kids come in, they work together in groups or individually. They learn about characters, they learn about plots, they learn about how to give a good ending. And after the whole thing, what we do is we convert that whole book into an ebook and we put it on a website. So the other parents can actually download it and use that for their own kids. And we also give a hard copy book to the kids so they have their own book. So there are like more courses like this. So we already have few centers in Dhaka, and we're actually scaling it up to other parts of Dhaka. It's like in a franchise model. So we do not. So people talk about parents and teachers. They're 1 minute. So teachers and parents are very important stakeholders. We do talk about a lot about teachers, but we don't talk about the parents. But we do, because actually parents are the people who are going to buy the Tesla car, right, for the kids. So in Teachers Time, we have a platform for both teachers and young parents. For the young parents, so they can have all these different online courses on different issues of early childhood development. And for the teachers, it's more about how to develop their professional capacities. So that's basically the whole Tesla model, but we don't want to leave out any children. So we do have a school development program where we have low-cost libraries and science lab in a box. So they can cover the whole primary level curriculum by all these different amazing educational tools and toys and the solar school. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is what are we going to do about the kids who are in off-grid areas and also in displaced locations. So we have another product called Sputnik. So what Sputnik is, it's a completely solar and multimedia classroom solution that any teacher can put it in the backpack, and it's also internally connected. So a teacher can literally walk anywhere in a village and can actually start a classroom. And with a smartphone, you can actually take 20 to 30 classes live. And that's kind of connecting all the children. Like a grandma from UK can use a smartphone to take an English class in some village in Bangladesh. So all of these different brands and products and services of ours is actually connected in a way that it delivers one single goal, is how we can provide the future skills for children. And in a community like this, we have limited resources, right, guys? And as a community, we have to decide what we want to invest in. Is one for Palki or a Tesla for education? So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure many of us would really love to ride on the Tesla that Waliullah is making. Thanks for the presentation. Now I'd like to request Marcus Veerman, who's already here, the founder and CEO of Playground Ideas, to present his model.
Will the rector here? We've had some technical issues with the slide. So first of all, everyone can just stand up for 1 second, just literally 1 second. This is not going to be embarrassing. Everyone can take their right hand as if they're a waiter in a restaurant and put it flat as a tack, like you're holding a bowl of soup. I don't want to see anyone spilling their soup. Okay, everyone got their bowl of soup. I want to take your left hand, put it in the air, I like you taste someone else's soup. You need your finger in someone else's soup, like this. Like so. Right, we all got someone else's, no, not on your own. You need to be putting your finger in someone else's soup. Like this. Like here. See what I'm doing here? On the count of three, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and on 3, you're going to catch that dirty monster who's tasting your soup with a dirty finger, whilst you try and catch. You're going to whilst you take your finger out of the other person. Does everyone understand? 1, 2, 3. Right, quickly, we need one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. See the magic happens. Can we get a slide on? Hey, all right. If I don't read from my things, I'm going to waffle, so I'm going to try and keep this short. I'm Marcus Veerman. I'm the CEO and founder of Playground Ideas, and we create play anywhere. Before you switch off, all you educators, I'm going to argue today that the foundations built in play are the foundations to all of the other projects that have been, amazing projects that have been done in this room. Why did I travel halfway around the world to come here? My grandparents escaped from the Second World War and lived their early life in a refugee camp in Switzerland, and then they moved to Indonesia with nothing. And then they restarted their life again a few years later in Australia in a small hardware store, which I'm sure is something that a lot of the parents of the people we teach would relate to. So I feel like frugality, as much as I live in Australia, in one of the world's most livable cities, is very much running through my veins. I'm just going to give you a quick slideshow of the kinds of stuff that we do. A child asked us for an aeroplane. The wings are seesaws, linked seesaws, by the way, which are really cool. This girl's on Facebook. She's got her reminders, her FM radio, her Twitter, her internet, and her profile picture, and all of her calendar events. This is our Blue Flame special. Can be built for about $5 anywhere in the world, and I would love for 100 of them to be built in schools in Bangladesh. It literally takes 2 bolts and a piece of wood, and a couple of car tyres from the rubbish tip. This is from a mining tyre in Papua New Guinea. Special tyres, they don't have any metal in them, so you can cut them that way, which makes them really cool. And what's holding it up are pieces of car tyre tread. Again, a couple of bucks. This beautiful slide is in Papua New Guinea, and the slide is built out of a dirt and rubble filled brick sort of chamber on top of a sewage pipe, a new clean sewage pipe, and the slide is made out of floor tiles. These were trees that came from a local forestry project that the forestry guys couldn't use because they were all curly, and so they gave them to us and we created a climbing frame. This piece uses nothing at all but car tyres. I'm sure all of you could think of where you could get 12 car tyres to do something like this. It creates structure, it builds social skills, it is gamification, it requires language development and all of those other things. 5 minutes already. You didn't include my game, did you? That's what I mean. And this is a little doctor's clinic. We were given some stuff. I'm going to whip through this. We all know we're in a crisis. I just want to read you one thing by a guy named Marcon. Introducing formalised learning experiences too early for most children's developmental status can actually slow their long-term process. Pushing children too soon may backfire when children move into later elementary school grades and are required to think more independently and take on greater responsibility for their own learning process. I'm going to talk about 2 things today. I'm going to talk about a thought experiment of starting over. I'm going to talk about our model. So what if we started over? Just consider that. What if we started education from scratch today, like we'd never spent the last 200 years doing what we're doing? I think that we would start earlier. I think we now know that we need to start at birth, and it's crucial, and all the early childhood education people here would agree with me. I think if we can accelerate people living in poverty's early development and set the foundation right, we can erase a lot of the disadvantage, and by the time children reach the first day of school, and then they can grow from there. I think the problem is we're starting too late. I think we would focus on life skills and executive function, things like that everyone's talking about, creativity, problem solving, etc. Those things are highly correlated with GDP, wealth and poverty reduction. This is a graph that compares, that looks at where the most creative people are. And you'll see that that very strongly correlates with GDP. I think the other thing we would do is we would keep the responsibility of the learning on the child, not directed by the teacher. Because after all, that's what we want for adults. And if we start that young, we will get more responsible adults. So how are children built to learn the skills to thrive? I want to take you way, way back. Past the 200 years of education, back 250,000 generations, 5 million years ago, Homo sapiens have spent 250,000 generations, honing the best way to learn, or one way to learn, and we can't ignore it. Children are born, and the second that they are born, they start to play. It is the tool that they are given, it is the tool that they have to learn everything that they need. And regardless of what anyone in this room thinks is a great idea, you cannot ignore that. Full stop. Regardless of how you want to do anything, you cannot hack the system. You can't do anything other than appreciate that fact. You can't ignore it. And the fidgeting children in our classrooms are desperate for play. They are not desperate for more academic learning. And if our education doesn't appreciate that, we're missing something fundamental. All right. There's tons of research to suggest that play forms the foundations of literacy and numeracy, but I don't want to go into that today because you probably know lots of that. So what are some examples where the power of play trumps academic learning? One thing I think is fascinating is the amount of hours that children spend at school and their academic performance. I'm Australian. Australians spend 11,000 hours at school. Finnish children spend 6.5. They do significantly better than us. If it was academic learning, fundamentally, that improved children's chances in life, we wouldn't see that statistic. Sudbury Valley School in Massachusetts in the States, I know it's a wealthy country, but I just want you to take this as a thought experiment. They do nothing like school. They have no classes, they have no teachers. The children direct their entire learning journey from 5 to 18. They finish school, they thrive in education and university, and they thrive in their jobs. They tend to start more businesses and be more creative. I'm not saying that we can all do that, I'm just saying it's something to dwell on. What I think that we need, if we were to start over, is regular stimulating play with caregivers from the age of 0 to 3. And then I think we need play-based early childhood from 3 to 7. And then I think we need open-ended, stimulating, exploratory activities right throughout school that engage that child's natural drive to play. So, I want to get onto our model, which is a little bit different, but we're changing, and my message at the start is a little bit different to what we're doing now because we're growing quickly. So, Playground Ideas, 26 communities around the world, last week, started doing playground projects on our website in the last week. We've completed, communities have completed with our resources, almost 2,000 projects now in 143 countries. And we've impacted around about 900,000 or more students, and that's conservatively. What we do is we help communities take pictures from Alang, like this, and turn them into things like this. And we do that with completely low cost, local materials, local labour and local tools for a low cost. Now, I'm going to see if I can get my cursor up here. I just want to show you a quick video of that process. Sorry, the volume's not working. growing quickly. About every 18 months, we double the amount of communities that we support. What you can access right now for free, for anyone anywhere in the world, is all of the manuals required to do a project like this. And specifically the people in this room would like to direct your attention to a manual called The Case for Play, which is specifically written to help you convince investors and the powers that be to help you to find funds to create these projects. We also have safety manuals to approve your project to international standards. We have a loose parts manual if you've only got $100 and you want to do a project with plastic bottles and wooden spoons. And we've got a starter kit to get you going. We also have, everyone, I don't know, might be the wrong audience, but if you've ever built a piece of IKEA furniture, we've used the same model to create over 150 step-by-step plans. We've created a game online that you can load up and create your own 3D playground plan in about 10 minutes, and you can do that with your students. It's completely amazing, and I'd love you to try it. And we also offer fee-free crowdfunding. As long as you've got a PayPal address, you can raise money for your project. Playgroundideas.org. Finally, we're working with, for instance, Handicap International to do a project near Cox's Bazar for Rohingya refugees, and we do customised projects for anyone, anywhere. Thank you. We're also doing one in Pakistan, which scares the crap out of me. And lastly, just very briefly, we want to see every organisation that's working on building schools make sure that they are creating stimulating places for play for all of their children, if only to recognise the fact that it is play that children are born with, is what makes them happy, is what they need to have greater levels of well-being and all the other stuff. Lastly, we are seeking investment. We would love to work with BRAC and other large organisations to work out how we might roll out a model and build thousands of playgrounds as part of an education rollout model, and I'd love to talk to anybody interested in that. Thank you, and let's make this happen.
Thank you so much, Nayak. Thank you for re-emphasizing on the importance of play model and showing your model to us. Now we have 10 to 15 minutes now to take some questions. So I'll open it up to the audience and feel free to ask your question. Can you just raise your hand, whoever you want? Yeah. So we have one here. So my question was for, I forgot your name. Really sorry. What? Anustup. Yeah. To you, when you were talking about the models that you create, like kind of lessons that you create for your teachers, my question was, sometimes when we teach in a classroom, what we see is like the need of the kids are different, and based on assessment, we need to differentiate in the classroom, right? So how does your system or your model address that problem? Thank you so much. Another question there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. If you can introduce yourself at first before asking the question.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm a teacher here in Dhaka. I've got a question for Wally. One of my questions is, why did you create Sputnik? And what is the problem that you're trying to solve with that?
Thank you. Any more questions? Yeah, there. At the back and there. So we will take 4 questions. And
I will just introduce myself. My name is Atuli and I work for Teach for Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you. So there, on that table. Yeah.
Hi, my question is to Anustup from XSEED. I wanted to know, how do you ensure sustainability in terms of the skills that you're teaching to the teachers? How do you monitor and evaluate them in the long run?
Can you please introduce
I'm Azwa from Alokit Riva Foundation.
Okay, great. And here, one more question.
Thank you. My name is Nazrul Islam, Joint Director from Bangladesh Bank. So all 4 presentations was on innovative ideas. So the methods are innovative. So the present system are based on result based. So how this innovative system can be transferred to this innovative system. So result-based system and innovative system, how the transition can be happen. Because it's global field. So developing countries are fighting on these issues, and developed countries also has changed a lot. So how developing country also can transform, and how long it will take.
Thank you.
Transform. Yeah, thank you.
Not taking any more questions at the moment, so back to the panelists to give the answer.
Okay, I think two great questions. I think one on differentiation. I think there are two levels of differentiation. One is that very often when teachers go into the classroom, they are really unable to focus on children. Because only when you listen to children, only when you have authentic conversations with children, you can actually absorb that information and then difference. And the reason teachers are not able to do that very often is that the basic pedagogical plan is not in place. So one of the things that XSEED does by providing that basic pedagogical plan is to free the teacher's mind to observe what is happening in the classroom. The second is that we provide differentiation tips inside the lesson plan for the teacher to either extend a concept for children who are going ahead, or replenish that concept in case children need additional support. And our worksheets also provide some opportunity for that. And we also provide an extra period, class teaching period, where if some children are unable to catch up, then there is some flexibility in that. The second question was on sustainability of skills. We have created a network of education coaches who are supporting the schools in the transition from whatever they were doing to the XSEED way of teaching. And these education coaches are former teachers. What they do is they visit the schools, they demonstrate great lessons, they observe teachers, give them useful feedback. We've also created a teacher assessment tool. And one of the other things we are doing, which is quite useful, is to create an XSEED leader inside the school. So this is like a master teacher or a person who is going to be a teacher coach, which ensures that the school doesn't over a period of time become completely dependent on us, but starts running its own show.
Thank you. Waliullah, maybe you can answer.
The question was about why did we bring Sputnik. So three things. One is the scarcity of electricity. So it's going to take another 30 to 40 years for the whole world, according to the current rate, to actually reach every people on Earth with electricity. So that's one thing. Second is connectivity, and third is the lack of good quality teachers. So these are three basic areas that we actually focus on when we build up Sputnik. And it's a B2B product, so any organization who are actually working in education, BRAC, Save the Children, anyone, they can actually buy this product from us to improve their own education program. So that is the purpose of building this one actually.
Thank you. If any of you would like to answer the last question, because, yeah.
The question was, how can result-based system can be transferred towards the new ideas? The recent World Bank report states that the changes that we need in education has to be holistic and a systematic approach has to be taken. Also, there's a lot of research towards that any big change that needs to happen in education at least needs 6 to 7 years for a full transformation. So there are these researchers which explain that the timeline for any large changes need this much of time. Now the question is back to us, are we that patient? And I think there's the problem towards this idea of education and the edtech scene, where like technology is the kind of thing that changes every day, and the patience towards implementation of technology and the growth of technology, it's pretty quick, whereas the education in itself is a very slow-moving process, and it takes a lot of time. So saying that, because we are also a part of the system, first we need to start by implementing these ideas with like as small as possible inside the system and start showing results as slow. And that's what we focused on. Like, we don't want to replace Dava and Subsea. We just want to start with something simpler that they would not resist too much. but by slowly we can increase the size and the portions of it. And I think as not just as educators, but as also the active members of community, we should stop asking for results, or we should start advocating for these ideas, even to parents and our community members, that let's think different. I think that's the approach I think should work, and it's going to take 7 years.
I think it does take a long time, but I think what we're lacking in the world a lot of the time is solid leadership, actually. And when you talk about innovation, you've got to take a risk. But the trouble is, our leaders are taking such small risks. The one bit that I disagree with you a little bit is we keep doing prototypes. Particularly in my area of early childhood development, there's solid research. It's solidly results-based. And we need leaders to say, okay, we're just going to do it. It's important, we're just going to do it. And there needs to be some degree of gut level risk in that. But I think that, what we all know is that children need better stimulation, they need more open-ended activities, they need more creativity and all of these other things. We know that, so any program that involves that is likely going to have a better outcome than the current, what Ian was talking about this morning, which is dismal. It's not hard to improve from that.
Kind of disagree with this too on the issue of so anything to work, whether it's a consumer product or a service, somebody needs to buy it, right? And the whole paradigm shift from result-based education to more creativity focus on education is actually the parents need to understand that, right? Otherwise, no matter how great model we implement, nobody's going to buy that, and we can't continue to give subsidy and do this project in the long run. So I think we have to think it as a religion. Like when people change from one religion to another, there needs to be an initial buy-in from the people, and it's actually the parents. And in every educational community, we don't actually focus enough on the parent side. We have seen that, in Dhaka, probably 10 to 15% of the parents that we see are really interested in our Kids Time program. And those are the early adopters. And with time, that's going to change. But you need to bring up a good product or service that people are actually interested to buy with money. Otherwise, it's never going to work.
Yeah, sorry, I've got to say, I'm coming from an Australian place where we have a working tax system and an operating education system where our parents aren't expected to purchase things, and I totally understand that. It's a fair point.
Thank you so much. There can be a lot of debate, but sorry, we can't take more questions. We have to go for a break now. Should we? Okay. Okay, so then we can take 2 more questions, one from Faisal Bhai and one from that table. She wanted to, yeah.
Hello, I'm Urvashi Sani from India, and I want to congratulate you, Marcus, for the great presentation and for the idea, and most importantly for putting it online and making it free. While you were saying that, I immediately called up our network and said, hey, download this, it's got great ideas and it's all for free. Right? Because I won't agree with you, Wali, about people buying it and to the other, that what is happening with programs like XSEED and others is that you must remember that while you're going in for private schools, and these are private schools where parents are already paying fees, remember that? So they paid for it. Now they are being told, hey, pay some more so that your children can actually learn. And from a parent's perspective, how does that make sense, first of all? No, parents finish. And also, actually, the thing to do would be that if you have a great idea, why not collaborate with the government, with teacher training institutions, with the decision makers, and help build their capacity. Because these are old pedagogical ideas, right? And so to say, hey, listen, if you package it like this, if you market it like this, all your teachers, your teacher training program will become that much more strengthened. So I think it is important that we understand that in an economy where, especially private schools, people are already paying, we must remember that. So with that, they're assuming I'm paying this fee, my child is getting an education. Now why should they have to pay more so that their children actually learn? Then why have they already paid that money? So it's a double bind, right? So, and all these programs come with a per child cost, mind you. So it might sound less for a per child, and I'm speaking from a school perspective. But actually, when you took the whole thing, it's a lot of money. So I am very resistant to these add-on products that you have to pay for. Actually, it should go to the, maybe even to the school. Give it as a one-time cost to the school, say, hey, this is a great way, let's train all your teachers and go run with it. Instead of it having this business model built in that actually, so that's it. Thank you.
Very insightful, thank you. So now, for some time, another question.
Hi. This is not really a question. So my name is Frugal Chapter, Untitled Innovations. I recently arrived from the UK. It's not really a question that I'm asking. I just want to make a simple comment. The education is about providing an environment, setting a new norm for children. So what you're doing is a new norm. The environment you provide, some of the schools I've seen, is pretty tacky. Right? It's the environment, provide the environment for the children to have an aim for. So you have a proper school, proper flourish. You wouldn't do this in Australia, this kind of school. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do this in the UK, would you? So why should we not aim to provide this norm for those children to grow up in an environment where they can actually see what it's like to be like waves in the air, for them to have aspiration to actually do something. So that's also an education. And I don't buy the story about costs. There's money there, and education is the root for the future society. That is the point. Thank you.
Thank you. The last question I'll take from this table.
I have a simple question for the presenter on this XSEED is this $20 that you have mentioned, is that on top of what the public expenditure and also the private expenditure, and or this is all about?
I'd request for the last remarks from all the panelists if you want to add some comment to those and answer.
Good question on the cost. I can understand the concerns, and the concerns are as follows. So let me articulate your concerns. That I think a lot of people feel, and justifiably so, that if I'm already paying for education, why should I pay for something on top of that? And what if organizations like us put things out for free and collaborate with the larger forces? And I think that is a very creditable way to go about it. When we started, hold on, I'm going to respond to that. When we started with all these good ideas. We started about this work about 15 years ago. That just doesn't work on the ground for the following reason. But let me first articulate the issue about costs. The XSEED cost is actually a replacement cost. So initially when we started this work, we actually used to charge the schools a lump sum licensing fee to invest in that. But there's a market failure that schools want teacher training and curriculum, but would really not want to invest in it. So there's a huge market failure. So we went in there with that market, and it didn't work. The second thing about the cost is that it is a replacement cost. We found that schools actually charge a lot of, give a lot of books, materials, notebooks, all of that. And we say, what is that one piece where if we can replace it? So the $20 is actually a replacement cost. So maybe 20% of that $20 is actually on top. So we have really been iterating this model till the time we are able to achieve that balance between what the consumer is willing to pay for and where we can be sustainable. And the second thing is very important, and I think I want everyone to note that. I think there's a lot of great free resources out there, and I'm going to download yours. But the reality is that unless people pay for it, because education is not a medicine that you can pop in and it will cure something, it is an involved process for the beneficiary. And securing the beneficiary's involvement is one of the biggest problems with education innovation. And for lack of anything else, payment on part of the beneficiary is assuring that engagement. So I don't want to continue the debate, but those are the pegs on which. And we need to be sustainable. If you have to stay in this game, you have to stay for 10, 20 years, 30 years, and that's how long BRAC has stayed. You need the resources. You need to attract top talent. If I recruit someone like you, ma'am, you're not going to work for me for free. I have to invest. I have to pay you at market rates. So that's why private enterprise works. And will I do it for free if I wanted to? Actually, I may not, just for the fidelity reason.
Thank you. Any last remarks from any of the panelists?
More than anything, like being here, more than anything being here, it's really exciting to see so many different ideas, and at least in Nepal, being the only organization trying to change things in a systematic way is pretty hard. But coming here and realizing that we're not the only crazy ones, it's relieving. Also, to answer your question, I really like this idea that if I was a parent, I would ask the same question. If I'm paying, why should I pay something extra for a service that I thought that already existed? But again, education has never been free and will never be free. The question is who's paying for that? Because there are costs regarding the human resource and basic resources. And of course, the transition that we're going through with the access and with the quality question is a lot of changes have to be done. And I think that's a pretty open idea that changes needs to be done. And in this transitional time, we have to do a lot of prototyping and we have to do a lot of iterations. In this process, we might not find the right fit. Sometimes some models have to be sustained for some time, even to prove to the government that, okay, this might be a good idea for government to pick it up. For some time, they might have to go through the hardships of making them look bad as a private entity. But I think one point, as you said, there would be a lot of possibility in terms of large-scale collaborations, not just in national scale, but international scale. But until then, even to be visible in that scale, I think there needs a little bit of transitional time, I guess. Thank you so much. You've been amazing audience.
I would just my final comment is this for-profit education model, like the internet or building a website which has to be custom made, every little bit of code and whatever, we are still in the baby steps of this. So all of these guys and all of you guys out there who are innovating models, 1 or 10 of those will rise to the top, and then that's when the government might say, okay, this is great, so now we take it on and we roll out this model that's really working, and that might be different in every country or every region or whatever, but we're in a stage of massive transition. And the other thing I'd say is the reason why these organisations exist is because also the funders have shifted billions or maybe millions, maybe billions of dollars, have shifted from philanthropy to impact. So it's affected us massively. We are being forced to find a for-profit model because the philanthropy dollars we found are dropping dramatically for a for-profit model. So there's all sorts of shifts going on.
Thank you very much to all the panelists for bringing up the Tesla, chutney, play-based and experiential model. Thank you so much. With that, we close the session here. And we have a coffee break now. So you can take your coffee and go to the sessions wherever you like. So we have 2 parallel sessions will be coming up. One is Exploring Pedagogy, the Quality Imperatives, which will take place here. And the other one is Administrators and Academics, Lessons from the Roots, which will be taking place in the banquet hall. Thank you.